Are we in Rome right now? Because that's what it looks like. That is what it looks like to me. Check this out. This is incredible. And no, this is not Rome. This is actually Iowa, believe it or not. I didn't know there was really anything in Iowa. This is the inside of the State House in Iowa. Lo and behold, Iowa has a lot more to offer than one would imagine. Today we're going to go and do a deep dive on the Iowa State House and figure out a few marvelous mysteries, because this thing is loaded with them. So let's get going. Now, according to Wikipedia, this place has an interesting story. Whenever I'm doing research on any of these old buildings, the first thing I always like to note is if there is a fire story. Because whenever there's a fire story in these old 1800s historic buildings, that's a wink and a nod to the people that know that this is an old kingdom building. That's how they do it. They do it with a fire story. It's always good to check the fire story, and with these buildings, there always is one. So, according to this story, John C. Cochran, Johnny Cochran, and Alfred H. Pickenard were the designated architects for this. But, of course, all sorts of stuff happened, and Pickenard died, and he was succeeded by his two sons, and then they resigned the dome till it better fit the proportions of the building. But it was finally dedicated on January 17th, 1884, and was completed sometime in 1886. So they're saying they built this in 2 years. This building in 2 years. Which is pretty amazing. Pretty impressive. Because you can't build anything in 2 years now. So that is really mind-boggling. Clearly, Johnny Cochran is an amazing builder. Not just an amazing lawyer, he's also an amazing builder. Maybe this is his son, I don't know. Just amazingness runs in the blood, apparently. Let's take a look at what John Cochran built throughout his career. See if this makes any sense. Alright, so here's John Cochran, Johnny Cochran. Very nice, very handsome, nice beard, nice face. Great, good for you, John. Let's see what you did. Alright, so Johnny's a busy boy. He did the Iowa State Capitol, which clearly was amazing. We saw some pictures of that earlier. He did the Illinois State Capitol, too. Oh, boy. Let's take a look at the Cook County Hospital and see what that looks like. Alright, so this place is pretty gigantic. Holy Mother of God. This is huge. This guy did a lot of crazy things. I really want to see how big this place is. Alright. Only 1.2 million square miles. Let's see how long it took him to build this. Alright, interesting. So we get that the hospital was founded in 1832. That's what we get. So apparently, he built it in 1 year. He founded it, builded it, did the whole thing, wrapped it up. That is pretty amazing. I mean, they're always doing crazy things like this in the 1800s. 1 year buildings. You know, just miraculous, gigantic, 1.2 million square foot buildings just being popped up overnight. How on earth did he ever do this? I mean, look at this place. This is just unbelievable. This guy was really amazing. Let's take a look at who he worked for, because they must have been the best company ever. I can't even look at that yet, though. Look at this. Look at this. You're telling me this guy in the 1800s built this with horses and buggies in the year? In a year. Well, it was founded in a year, apparently. Whatever that means. I don't know. The whole history is ridiculous. What does that mean? It was founded in a year? I have no idea what that means. It doesn't mean it was made. And it wasn't made by this guy with horse and buggy in the 1800s. Look at this place. So back to Johnny Cochran, right? This guy... It mentions up here that he practiced his architecture in Chicago. Now, the reason I don't trust him, I mean, for many reasons, obviously. He didn't build that ridiculous monstrosity in 1 year. But anytime they start mentioning the World Chicago Fairs, Chicago, that's what I think of, those fairs, and all those historical buildings, they start dedicating these buildings that this guy had anything to do with it. Yeah, okay, I'm sure he did. Sure he did. He probably invented them all, made them all too in one day with his horses and buggies and hand chisels and hand tools. I bet you he did. I bet you he did it in one day. I bet you he didn't even do it in one day. He probably did it in a half a day, maybe even in his sleep after a long night of eating and drinking. That's probably what he did, because he's just the greatest person to ever walk the earth, obviously. So let's go back to Johnny Cochran's page here, because I wanted to check out this Cochran and Garnsey. Cochran and Garnsey, these seem to be his partners. He formed Cochran and Garnsey with George O. Garnsey to build all these amazing places. So let's take a look what Cochran and Garnsey did. Alright, so Cochran and Garnsey didn't do much. They did the Illinois State House, and that's really about it, which is interesting and bizarre. And here's his partner, Garnsey. Now Garnsey is tied in with the Chicago fires. They say he built a lot of Chicago after the fires, and we all know that that's probably nonsense, because they burnt the city down on purpose, and it probably wasn't even a fire. Most likely was a bomb. You tell me, does this look like a fire? I think not. So George O. Garnsey, I don't know about you, buddy. You seem a little suspect number 3 on this list right now, because this is getting crazy. It seems like what happens is they need to come up with all of these characters. So they just keep coming up, and then over time, more characters get added in, it gets built on, and then with the internet, the AI kind of ties it all in. But it's just crazy. All these characters, all these stories, all these fires, all these buildings. Then they build these amazing structures, and then nothing. No more buildings ever again. Give me a break. Now, if you're new to this type of stuff, this is where it might get confusing for you. Now, see up on the top right, it's the old, it says Cook County Hospital. And on the bottom left is the newer one. Now, what they do all the time in history is they are constantly telling us that they're building these buildings, knocking them down. Building buildings, knocking down. Building buildings, knocking down. It's nonsense. What they actually do is, the building on the top right and the top left are 2 different buildings. They've never been one building. It's never been the Cook County Hospital. These were 2 separate buildings, okay? So that they can tell you, so that they can have a narrative for each building. But what they really do is they didn't rebuild that building on the bottom left. That building was always there. They just needed a story for it. So they give you these fires and these relocations and these rebuilding buildings. It's all nonsense. It's all lies just to confuse you. They always throw in a million builders. It's always the same story on every single building. It's just unbelievable. Now, I am going to do way more of these videos. I'm hooked on them. I think this is the best way to tell the lies. I'm going to do a shout out to a dude that does these videos, and he's inspired me to do more of this type of video. But it's My Lunch Break on YouTube and Rumble. He's amazing. But check this out, because this is crazy. You can do your own research. It's just ridiculous. They lie to us constantly. They lie to us all the time. My name's Andy. Hit follow. Check out my YouTube page at The Hidden Truth 33. And check me out on Instagram, Andrew John, the creator. From there, you can go to my website, which is free. Tons of information.